Welcome to Spiritual Calisthenics. Christ is in our midst. On December 8th, we commemorate the Forefeast of the conception by Saint Anna of the Most Holy Theotokos, Saint Patapius the Righteous of Thebes, and Saints Sosthenes, Polus, Cephas, Tychikos, Epaphroditos, Caesar, and Onesiphoros, pluses of 70. Regarding Saint Patapius the Righteous of Thebes, this saint was from Thebes of Egypt and struggled many years in the wilderness. He departed for Constantinople, having performed many miracles and healings, reposed in peace in a mountain cave on the Gulf of Corinth, where his holy relics are found incorrupt to the present day. The image of God was faithfully preserved in you, O Father, for you took up the cross and followed Christ. By your actions you taught us to look beyond the flesh where it passes, rather to be concerned about the soul which is immortal. Wherefore, O holy Patapius, your soul rejoices with the angels. Having found your church to be a place of spiritual healing, all the people flock with haste unto you, O saint. They ask you to bestow the ready healings of their diseases and forgiveness of the sins they wrought in their lifetime. Patapius, most righteous in every need, you are the protector of all. From St. Paul's first letter to Timothy. Timothy, my son, do not rebuke an older man, but exhort him as you would a father. Treat younger men like brothers, older women like mothers, younger women like sisters, in all purity. In other words, by showing respect in this way to each generation and to each sex, we allow them to come into the faith. Because when we try to dominate, when we try to domineer over someone, we're not going to bring them to Christ. But when we show respect and love, someone is more apt to listen. Honor widows who are real widows. If a widow has children or grandchildren, let them first learn their religious duty to their own family and make some return to their parents, for this is acceptable in the sight of God. She who is a real widow and is left all alone has set her hope on God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day, whereas she who is self-indulgent is dead even while she lives. Command us, so that they may be without reproach. If anyone does not provide for his relatives, especially for his own family, he has disowned the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Let a widow be enrolled if she is not less than 60 years of age, having been the wife of one husband, and she must be well attested for her good deeds, as one who has brought up children, shown hospitality, washed the feet of the saints, relieved the afflicted, and devoted herself to doing good in every way. In other words, the social safety net is supposed to be for those who it is meant for, not for those that have other people that are able to help them, and not for people that are trying to game the system, but people that have shown themselves to be part of the body. It also shows us that when we are faithful to our own relatives, how can we be Christians? How can we help the other if we won't even help our own family? Unfortunately, we see this quite often. From the Gospel according to St. Luke. At that time, there came to Jesus some Sadducees, those who say that there is no resurrection. And they asked him a question, saying, Teacher, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, having a wife but no children, the man must take the wife and raise up children for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first took a wife and died without children. The second and the third took her, and likewise all 7 left no children and died. Afterward, the woman also died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife will the woman be? For the 7 had her as wife. And Jesus said to them, The sons of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are counted worthy to attain to that age and to the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage, for they cannot die anymore, because they are equal to angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But that the dead are raised, even Moses showed in the passage about the bush, where he calls the Lord the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Now he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. And some of the scribes answered, Teacher, you have spoken well. for they no longer dared to ask him any question. But he said to them, "How can they say that the Christ is David's son? For David himself says in the book of Psalms, 'The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand, till I make thy enemies a stool for thy feet.' David thus calls him Lord, so how is he his son?" This interaction in which both the Pharisees and the Sadducees are united in a rare instance where they're trying to trip up Jesus. The Sadducees, who believe that there is no resurrection, they believe that once you die, that's it. We're trying to trip Jesus up with the idea of how in the world can there be a resurrection? And if there is a resurrection, how would it work with husbands and wives that have been given and not given? Very messy. But Jesus Christ shows us that in the resurrection, there is no more marriage, that people are being given in marriage, that there is no more carnal desires to raise up children because there is no more death. And so we will be together in eternity. It will not be needed for that anymore. I hope that you've enjoyed today's spiritual calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.